This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your me, Louie Tee. Welcome to Lockdown Coverage, week number 10 in the National Football League. Philadelphia Eagles at home taking on the Atlanta Falcons in a battle of the birds. Who would come out on top? We'll discuss that here in a second. But first and foremost, as we always do here on this program, welcome to the Louie Tee Network and Lockdown Coverage. I'm your man, Louie Tee. Make sure that if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. We're looking to change the game over here. Want you to help us do that by hitting that red subscribe button for more great content in 2016 and beyond on the Louie Tee Network. Also, I'm on Twitter at InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me there. The best and most efficient way to keep tabs on this channel as to when I'm going live or posting new videos and updates is Twitter. You want to know what's going on in real time? Turn on your notifications and follow me on Twitter, and that will keep you abreast of what's going on this channel. At InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle once again. Also, I'm on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Going to do some things in the near future on Facebook, looking to explore there. So go ahead, get ahead of the curve, and like the Facebook page. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. So give me the thumbs up there. All of my social media platforms right up above in the box, in the center, scrolling across the screen. So you cannot miss any of them. Make sure you like the Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, and of course, most importantly, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network. That being said, let's jump into this breakdown. Likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe for these two football teams. This was a really good, well-played, hard-hitting, physical, action-packed football game. Despite the score, this game was very, very exciting to watch. I'm going to break this thing down. And we start with the likes of the road team, as we customarily do here. So we're going to start with the Atlanta Falcons, who came into this game at 6-3, playing some good football, winners of 2 straight, looking to go ahead and put a stranglehold on that NFC South division. A win here with everybody else just about, with the exception of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, losing in week 2. This was an opportunity to run away, distance themselves from everyone else in the division. Did they take advantage of that opportunity? Let's discuss. We start with their likes in the first half, and there weren't many likes. Score was 7-6 at the half. Missed opportunities on both teams' parts in this game, so not much to like from either team. But Vic Beasley, 2 sacks in the first half, including a forced fumble, which gives him 9.5 sacks on the season, and I believe 4 forced fumbles on the season. This guy has been playing phenomenal football, and he continues his tear as he got 2 sacks in the first half and continued to get pressure on the quarterback. That is a sight for sore eyes and a welcome for most Atlanta Falcons fans who were waiting for Vic Beasley to show up and be the guy that they spent the first-round pick on. He's starting to show you exactly why they spent that high first-round draft choice in 2015 on Vic Beasley. You go to the Philadelphia Eagles in their first half likes in this football game. The offensive start, I thought it was very good for the Eagles. Even though there wasn't much to show for the offensive start, the ground game was probably the catalyst for that offensive start. They ran the football well early and often. You could probably talk about the running game from the first half into the second half. That's where they won this game offensively, and I thought they started well in this game. The first possession, they marched it right down the field, get it into the end zone. The run kept them balanced so that Wentz didn't have to do much. They didn't have to ask him to be great, even though I thought he was really good in this football game. Very accurate, didn't make any mistakes. The run game really was a crutch, though, allowed them to do a lot of the things that they like to do in Philadelphia, and they had a lot of success. They were getting chunks, especially early on in the football game, and they got the touchdown on the opening possession and then turned around, got into field goal range, but Caleb Sturgis could not connect. So the offensive start for the Eagles, I thought, was very positive. Eminem is my next like. Mathews and Mathews, one with 2 T's, one with 1. When you get these guys going, This Philadelphia Eagles offense is so much more efficient. And Ryan Mathews, the running back, had been basically thrown into the doghouse, it seemed. Last couple of weeks, he was non-existent. He wasn't getting a ton of snaps. They were giving Darren Sproles a lot of carries. And I don't know if it was because he fumbled or if he was dealing with some injuries and they didn't really want to disclose it. I don't know what the situation was. He just wasn't playing as much. But he got the start in this game, unlike the past two games, and he ran with that opportunity over 100 yards, and he dominated in this football game. But the Eagles on the ground as a team, every single back, Sproles and Smallwood as well, likewise, all dominated on the ground. But the one that led that attack, who spearheaded that attack on the ground, was Ryan Mathews. And then when you can get Jordan Mathews to catch the football like he did early in this football game, did have a big drop later on. We'll talk about that when we get there. But in the first half, he was exceptional. He caught the football. He got open when he's right. When he's running routes, he's getting open, and Wentz is getting him the football. This offense is different because then it opens up things for guys like Zach Ertz. It opens up things underneath for the running backs coming out of the backfield. It just changes the dynamic of this Eagles offense when you can rely on one receiver. That's been the knock on this Eagles offense. No receivers that scare you. When Jordan Mathews is playing well, this is a dangerous Eagles offense. He was playing well early in this football game. Connor Barwin has been somewhat of a no-show at times this season. He showed up in this game in the first half, had a sack, had a big tackle for loss when the Falcons were starting to gain a little confidence running the football. He blows up the left tackle, Mathews, and gets into the backfield. A lot of Mathews is in this game. Blows him up, gets into the backfield, and is able to stop Devonta Freeman for a loss. So I thought Connor Barwin was impactful in the first half of this football game. And then forcing field goals is the final like in the first half for the Eagles. The Falcons move the football. We know how explosive this Atlanta Falcons offense has been this season and how they can score points in bunches. Hard to hold this team down, and to hold them to 15 points, that right there in itself is amazing and a great feat accomplished by this Eagles defense. But to hold them to 6 in the first half when the Falcons were actually getting into an offensive rhythm and moving the football, that speaks volumes as to how well they played. And again, this Eagles football team, they're a different animal at home for some reason. Can't explain it. When they're at home, they play much better. They did that in this game, again, holding the Falcons to just 6 first half points. And again, Falcons were moving the football, but they had to settle for field goals. Give the credit to that Eagles defense. You go to the first half dislikes for both teams. For the Falcons in the first half, run defense. I thought the run D was shoddy all day long, especially in the first half. I thought the first half set the tone for the remainder of the game in terms of run defense. You can't give it up like that on the ground and expect to beat teams in this league. They gave it up at 5, 6, 7 a pop. 4, 3, 5, 7, 4, 4, 6, 8. They were giving up chunks of yardage. It made it easy for Carson Wentz to stay in third and manageables. When you're playing against a rookie quarterback, the one thing you want to do is you want to put him in a situation where he's got to make some big throws on 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11. They were constantly in 3rd and 2, and 3rd and 1, and 3rd and 3, and 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. Those are manageable down and distances where you can check it down to the back and pick up a first down. You can run it to one of your running backs and pick up the first down. You can throw it to your tight end underneath. You're not asking the quarterback to do much, but just extend the drive by making the right read, quick throw, and pick up the first down. I thought the Falcons allowed the running game to dictate what the Eagles did offensively, and that hurt them in the first half and into the second half as well. The inability to get into the end zone. This is a Falcons offense that we've seen score points all season long. They haven't had trouble, haven't had to settle for many field goal opportunities. When they have, they've been a lot further out. These were opportunities where I felt like, okay, you're moving the football, you got a little bit of rhythm, and you got to bog down and settle for a field goal. They needed to get in the end zone. Put the pressure on the Eagles to have to score touchdowns. When they've got to score touchdowns and can't settle for field goals, that's when their head coach, we've seen them do this. Doug Peterson did this a couple weeks ago against the Giants, where he felt the need. He felt the pressure. Giants were scoring touchdowns. Eli Manning had 4 passing touchdowns in that game. He felt the pressure of needing to go for it on 4th down when maybe he should have kicked the field goal. You make the other coach make some decisions that maybe customarily he wouldn't make. If you score touchdowns, you make the decision a lot easier when you're settling for field goals. Hell, I'll take the field goal as well. So thought the Falcons wasted some opportunities, missed some opportunities to really put pressure on Doug Peterson to see what kind of decisions he would make. Like later on in the game when the Falcons get a huge goal line stand and stop. Maybe he goes for it there and you're able to stop them and they don't get any points there if you score touchdowns. Instead, you kept the game close with all these field goals that you were kicking, allowed them to make an easy decision. Hey, they only got 9 points. Let's just take the points and get the field goal. So scoring touchdowns, imperative in this league. You know my mantra, you know my motto. Field goals don't win games, touchdowns do. Falcons did not score enough of them in this game. Wasted opportunity on the fumble. So Vic Beasley forces the fumble of Carson Wentz right before the half. Scooped up by Bryant Poole. You're in great field position, and you don't really move the football. And that was the story of the day for the Atlanta Falcons in this game. The inability to sustain offense, to make the right play calls. And I'm not one to really beat up play calling too much, but I thought there were some opportunities for some things to be done. Some untimely penalties hurting you, pushing you back and down in distance. There were just too many mistakes. So you have to settle for a 53-yard Matt Bryant field goal, which usually isn't a bad thing because he's usually money. But he missed it. He was a little off in this game and missed the extra point, missed this field goal here. And so you get nothing out of a great opportunity, which we've seen the Falcons take advantage of this season. Didn't take advantage of it in this game. So that's another dislike in the first half. You go to the Eagles in their first half dislikes. The missed 44-yard field goal by Caleb Sturgis. I talked about that. The early start offensively was impressive, but it was kind of watered down by the miss by Caleb Sturgis on the second possession from 44 yards out to allow the Eagles to get into double digits in a 10-0 start to this game, or I think it would have been 10-3 at that time. Either way, a big miss at that time in the game by Caleb Sturgis. Also, Wentz's fumble, a great play by Vic Beasley. Got to have a little bit more pocket awareness if you're a Carson Wentz, but you don't expect to have a guy jump over your tackle and swat the football out of your hand. So I will cut him a little bit of a break there, but in any event, he needs to find a way to fall on that, not squirt it through his legs and allow it to be scooped up by the Atlanta Falcons. That could have turned into a disaster there. Got to make sure you're a little bit more secure with the football in the pocket if you're Carson Wentz. And then finally, Jordan Mathews with a huge drop. And I talked about him being so good in the first half of this game, but that was a huge drop in the first half of the game. That's a situation where you just got to catch a football over the middle. This is going to be a huge chunk play. After the missed field goal, you're looking to get some points right before the half, and your end zone coverage is probably going to be about a 25-yard chunk play. Yes, the football's slightly behind you, but it's catchable. I need you to make that play. You can't drop that one. For as good as he was in the first half, that was a little bit of a scar on what was otherwise a great first half of football by Jordan Mathews. And so, but this is what he does. So don't act surprised when he puts the football on the carpet with a drop. This is something that you should be accustomed to if you're an Eagles fan. You see this quite often. It is who he is. It's in his DNA as a football player. So you can't really be that upset when it happens, or at least surprised. I can't say upset because damn right you should be upset if he drops it on 3rd and 9 and it would have been a 14-yard gain and a first down to end the football game and you win. You should be upset, but you should not be surprised. Let's go to the lights in this football game. Go back to the Falcons, and now we're in the second half. Great goal line stand to force a field goal. You're down 10-9 in the football game. A touchdown here might be catastrophic because the way your offense has been operating in this game, I don't know if a touchdown is something that you'll be able to muster up today. You just haven't been doing what you normally do. The juice just isn't there offensively. A touchdown to go down 17-9 could mean the beginning of the end for you in this game. Instead, the defense rises up and rise up. And that's what they did on that possession inside the 5, getting a couple of stops there from the 1-yard line and forcing the Eagles to have to kick a field goal to make it 13-9 in the ball game. 66-yard Taylor Gabriel touchdown grab. Right after that possession, you fall down by 4 at 13-9, and Matty Ice finds Taylor Gabriel streaking. Beautiful double move ran by Taylor Gabriel. Really ate that corner alive. He bang on that double move, hook, line, and sinker. Gabriel uses that speed to win, get into the end zone 66 yards later. Boom. Just like that, Falcons take their first lead of the game, but it would be followed by a missed extra point by Mr. Reliable Matt Bryant. Instead of the lead being 3 at 16-13, it's now 15-13. Falcons ahead. And then Matt Bosher gets a big ups from me. 2 huge saves on kickoff return coverage, including the second with a bad hammy, limps over and pushes Kenjon Barner out of bounds. What a play by Matt Barsher. He was not able to finish the game, but that was a gutty performance there to push him out of bounds, because I know a lot of punters who would have quit on that play because they didn't have two good wheels. Hell, most kickers in this league don't want any part of tackling anyone, let alone being injured and banged up with a bad wheel and still making a play. Give some credit to Matt Barsher there, even though you'd like to see him kick it out of the end zone. I think it was probably a windy day in Philadelphia. In any event, good tackles on both of those kickoff returns by Barsher to help preserve points from the scoreboard. You go to the second half lights for the Eagles in this game. Kenjon Barner with the kickoff return. I just talked about that. It went for naught, as the Eagles would not get points out of that return, but it was a great return, and the Eagles special teams has been so dynamic in the returns game this season. Add another big return to that list with this Barner return in this game. A big drive down 15-13. You're starting to get late. It's getting late in this ball game. And the Eagles offense stepped up. They started to run the football again. Wentz made some big throws. Got a huge pass interference call on Bryant Poole. You don't get those calls if you don't make the throws. Good job by Wentz trying that secondary, forcing the issue, pushing that envelope, and getting the call on Bryant Poole to set them up in a position to run Ryan Mathews into the end zone to take the lead, and then get the 2-point conversion after another Falcons penalty in the end zone. Put the football at the 1. That 2-point conversion was converted by Ryan Mathews to give them the 21-15 lead, the lead that they would not relinquish for the remainder of the game. And then finally, the defense. The defense just continued to make play after play after play. They continued to force the issue. They had opportunities to make some plays. We'll talk about that. I thought that Leodis McKelvin dropped an interception that would have put this game on ice. Luckily, it did not come back to haunt this Eagles football team, because on the very next play, they get a wide open Devonta Freeman down the sidelines, and that could have been a huge play. But instead, they call OPI. We'll get to all of that a little bit later on. But this Eagles defense played football, forced some tough throws late in the ball game, got off the field when they needed to. This defense was stellar. And outside of that 66-yard touchdown to Taylor Gabriel, they were magnificent in the second half of this football game. And it just seems like they play at a different level at home versus on the road. I can't explain it, but that's just how it goes with this Eagles football team right now. You go to the second half, dislikes for both teams, and we'll go back to the Atlanta Falcons, and there's a ton of mistakes. This is why this team right now isn't 8-2, isn't 7-3, but instead 6-4, because they make too many mistakes in their losses. Matt Bryant misses a point after. We talked about that already. Instead of it being a 16-13 game, and that proved to be costly, because after the Eagles tack on a field goal late, it's a 9-point lead instead of an 8-point lead. It would have still been a 1-possession game. At that point, you're done. You're done in this football game once the Falcons decide to go for it. And we're going to talk about that decision as well, to go for it on fourth down and don't convert, and give the Eagles basically a field goal with the field position that they got. And they would convert that field goal, and that basically put the game out of reach at 24-15. If you make the extra point, now you're talking about a one-score game at 16-24. You're down 8. Now you got a shot. So again, that's a big miss by Matt Bryant. Giving up the big kickoff return immediately after taking the lead. My biggest problem with this kickoff return, even though it didn't turn into points for the Eagles, is you're taking away momentum. You've wrestled away the momentum with the 66-yard touchdown and taking the lead, and you give it right back. The crowd is now a little antsy. They're sitting on their hands. They're quiet, and you allow them to bust off a 55-yard kickoff return that gives them life and momentum. And just like that, the crowd is back in the game, and even though it doesn't turn into points for the Eagles, it's still a momentum shift in the game. Even with that punt, they're able to flip the field position. It's just not a good situation. You don't want to give that up in that spot. Wasted field position after the 55-yard miss by Caleb Sturgis. And so that's a situation where on that same kickoff return possession, they're not able to move it down farther enough. They kick a 55-yard field goal. It ends up a little short. You've got great field position. And I didn't like the play calling. I told you I'm not one to really judge play calling. Kyle Shanahan has done a marvelous job this year at play calling, but I thought he dropped the football. Devonta Freeman had been running the football successfully in this game. He averaged 4 yards per carry, only 12 attempts in this game. I think that's not enough. And in addition, on that possession, after the missed 55-yard field goal, which gave the Falcons some great field position, 3 straight throws, all incomplete passes, gives the football right back to the Eagles again. That's one of those situations where you need to find a way to take advantage of that great field position. Falcons didn't do so at that point. And I thought that was one of those situations where you could have really turned the game on its head. Missed field goal, great field position, all the momentum in your corner, and all of a sudden you go 3 and out and give it right back to the Philadelphia Eagles. Bryant Poole with a pass interference late in the ball game, up 15-13. He didn't need to do it. He was in great position on the play. He saw the football. He had no reason to push the receiver on that play. Jordan Mathews wasn't going to get to that football. He just wasn't. All he had to simply do, he knew the football was coming, was turn his back to the defender, stack him, put him right on his hip, and turn around, look at the football. They would not have called pass interference. They were going to have to settle for a field goal on that possession. Instead, you give away the PI. They end up scoring a play later on a Ryan Mathews touchdown run, and they would take the lead, and they would not relinquish it in the football game. And then you have the Julio, who had a marvelous, a magnificent, a monster game. But when they needed him the most, he didn't make the plays. 3rd and 12 drop. Beautifully thrown football by Matt Ryan. Matty Ice threw some dimes to Julio in this game. A couple of them off his back foot, throwing off balance, still hitting him in stride. This is one of those plays where Matt actually had a chance to set his feet in the pocket and deliver a good football. And this is one we normally see Julio catch. Takes a shot behind him, and he drops the football. Good hit by the Eagles defender, but this is one we normally see Julio reel in. Not accustomed to seeing that happen. That happened with 5 minutes and 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter. You're down 21-15 in the game. You need that completion. That would have put you in the Eagles territory. Even if you get a field goal out of that possession, it changes the tenor of the game. Instead, it's a drop. You have to punt the football. And again, just plays not being made by this Falcons football team. And then OPI on Josh Perkins. This was a huge play. After you get the football and Leodis McKelvin drops an opportunity at a pick, the very next play, you get a rail route up the sidelines on a wheel by your running back, Devonta Freeman, out of the backfield. He's got an opportunity to make a big play, catches it, gets up the sideline, picks up about a good 27, 30 yards on the play. But Josh Perkins, and this is what happens when you put rookies in the game and ask them to do specific things. This was a specific job that he needed to go out and execute flawlessly. And when you ask rookies to do things they're not used to doing, these are the results. He was simply supposed to set a pick, but a natural pick. He went and set a basketball pick. All he needed to do was go out and act like he was catching a pass, and he would have been fine. That guy was not going to get over the top fast enough to stop that play from developing the way that it did. Instead, he literally goes and blocks as if it's a wide receiver screen. And it was a great call. OPI, you can't do it. And that's what happened when you ask an undrafted rookie to come in a big spot and do something. That's where you needed a Jacob Tammy, a veteran player to be in that football game. But Tammy, of course, not available with the injury. And the final thing, let's discuss this quickly. Decision to go for it with 2:28 left, deep in your own territory at your own 34 or so, 35, 36, somewhere in there. 4th and let's call it 8. There's no need for this. You got all 3 of your timeouts. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock. No need for this. You punt that football. You got 3 timeouts. The Eagles are going to run it at least twice. They may even throw it on 3rd down, depending on how the first 2 downs go. And you get the stop, and you get the football back with no timeouts and about 1 minute and 50 left, or 1 timeout and 1 minute and 50 left. Either way, you're going to get the football back with a great opportunity to still win this game with a touchdown. With that offense, with Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, with Julio, D. Free, and company, you had a shot. Instead, you go for it, and if you don't get it, now the Eagles have a chance to put this game out of reach. The only way that I can justify this is if you're down 5. If Matt Bryant makes the extra point and it's 16-21 and a field goal only makes it an 8-point game instead of a 9-point game, a field goal at that point is the end. You can't put your team in that kind of position by going for it there. You have to punt that football with all 3 of your timeouts. Thought that was a poor decision by head coach Dan Quinn. He's made a couple of these this season. You could argue, I didn't have a problem with the San Diego 4th and 1. I had a problem with the play call, but I didn't have a problem with the decision. But you could argue that that was a bad decision. This was a horrible decision on his part, and I felt like it cost his team in the end. You go to the Eagles and their dislikes in the second half. Missed 55-yard field goal. They possibly missed the roughing hit on Keanu Neal, the defensive receiver. I thought it was good football. I'd much rather err on not calling that than calling it. But Jordan Mathews did get up with a busted lip, so he probably did get hit in his chin, which would be a penalty. But in any event, 55-yard miss by Caleb Sturgis gave the Falcons great field position. They didn't do anything with it, so no harm, no foul there. Nelson Aguilar with a drop on a 3rd down. When you had all the momentum, you're looking to try to put this game away. He drops the football. I'm not going to beat Nelson Aguilar up for this. That was a bad football by Carson Wentz, way behind him. But if you want to endear yourself to the fans, they already don't like you. They already think you're a bust. You need to find a way to catch that football if you're Nelson Aguilar, and he didn't. Najee Good with a personal foul penalty. What the hell are you doing, man? All right, it's a fair catch. The guy runs near out of bounds. The ball bounces out of bounds, and you crush him? What are you doing? Don't jumpstart the Falcons' drive there. What are you thinking, man? Use your brain. You need to wash your face if you think that's a good idea, man. It's called restraint. Try it. That was stupid. Could have cost your team late in the ball game. And then look, Leodis McKelvin dropping an interception. The very next play, if Josh Perkins doesn't commit OPI, that interception that was dropped by McKelvin would have loomed large, but he was bailed out by the rookie undrafted tight end out of Washington, going out and blatantly picking off a defender and calling back what would have been about a 30-yard gain by D. Free down the sidelines on a catch. Got lucky. Catch the damn ball. That was a chance to put this game away, and you blew it. That being said, banana in the tailpipe for the Falcons. Look, you're going to have defensive days like this. Your defense is going to take a while to mature. But don't think for 1 second, and don't think that the offense is going to be scoring 15 points. This Eagles defense is really good. Okay, they're not great. They're a really good unit, especially when they're at home. Don't feel bad about this. But you got to be better defensively stopping the run. It's one thing to give it up through the air. To not be able to stop the run, that allows the other team to control the clock, and it takes away opportunities from your explosive offense, which I thought lacked rhythm in this game at certain points. And so don't fall into the trap of thinking, oh, we are not this and we're not that. You're fine. You would like to win this football game, but at the end of the day, you're still 6-4. You still are the leaders in the clubhouse. You're still a good football team, but you're going to have these struggles. Just know this. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that says, oh, this Falcons team isn't for real. I had people ask me, oh, are the Falcons for real? You damn right they're still for real. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that they're not serious. They're still a damn good football team. They just didn't have it offensively, and they didn't have it defensively either in this game. You go to the Eagles, they're just so inconsistent. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that this is who they are. They're an inconsistent football team, but they're going to win games. They're going to be in ball games. They're not going to win all of them like they won this one, but they've got to figure out how to play better on the road because this is a formula here. At home, they find a way to get it done. They got to find a way to do that same thing on the road. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that this team can do this on the road until they prove it to me. This is a home thing only. They're good at home. They're not good on the road. They're going to have to figure that out because right now they're struggling on the road are the Philadelphia Eagles. But a big win for them keeps them right there in the thick of things in the NFC landscape for the wild card and for the NFC division. Even though the Cowboys refuse to lose, you still give yourself an opportunity by getting this win and staying above the 500 mark on the season, getting this win and going to 5-4. Eagles drop to 6-4, and they have a much-needed bye coming up. At 6-4, still ahead of everyone in the division by 2 games. You're fine if you're the Falcons, but don't make this thing harder than it needs to be. Take care of business, separate yourself from everybody else in this division, and go ahead and take care of business. Got a couple of comments, want to read them quickly. Andrew Kim says, I think the Eagles are just really good at home. Falcons will still win the South. I couldn't agree with you more. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what I just said. That's the best and most efficient way to sum it up right there. Mind Draw says, after the Green Bay game, I consider this game the upset of the week. I didn't really think it was an upset. I thought the Falcons could lose this game because the Eagles play so well at home. I just wasn't willing to go out on a limb and give this to the Eagles. They had to go out and take it, and that they did. But some would consider this an upset, but the Eagles have been playing such good football at home that I don't know if I was that surprised at the outcome of this game. And Mind Draw says, happy to see Leodis McKelvin doing something amazing after having a couple of bad weeks. He's been dealing with some hamstring injuries. He gutted it out in this game, and I thought he played well. Had 2 opportunities at interceptions, dropped both of them. I'd like to see Leodis come up with at least one of those, especially the one at the end of the game that could have put the game away. Need him to make that play. Let's check Twitter real quick to see if there's anything there. If not, we'll get out of here. Big win for the Philadelphia Eagles in this game as they go to 5-4 and hang tough in one of the toughest, if not the toughest division in all of football, the NFC East. Falcons drop to 6-4. They're going to be just fine. This bye is right on time. Gives them a chance to recharge the battery, get some guys back. They'll be just fine after this heartbreaker in Philadelphia as they drop to 6-4 in the season. Remember, if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on Lockdown Coverage. Got plenty more games to break down. I will see you a little bit later on. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I will see you next time. And let's just go to Twitter really fast. I got a tweet here. At EaglesSpeed4311 says, are the Eagles a playoff caliber team? If not, how many draft years will it take? Are they close? They're damn close. I mean, look at this team and the way it's constructed. Defensively, they've got what they need to compete right now. It's on the offensive side of the football. The receiver position is what's lacking the most right now. You don't have a studded receiver. I think Jordan Mathews could be a great complement to a number 1 receiver. He's not a number 1 in this league. He's too inconsistent with his hands. But he could be a dynamite number 2, even a slot guy, which is what the Eagles use him as sometimes. When he picked up that PI, he was in the slot. He'll be a great option for you as a second or third option, but you need a number 1 guy, someone that you can make teams fear out wide. If you can get that in the first round of the next year's draft, that would be awesome. If there's a guy that is worth taking in the first round when you select, because you're going to win enough games to put yourself in a position to be drafting right around those playoff teams if you don't make it. But this Eagles team can definitely sneak in the playoffs. They're going to have to clean up those road woes, though, if they want to get in. Right now, I just don't see them being good enough to do it. They've lost to too many teams that are right there in the thick of things, like a Detroit, who's right now in a position to win their division. But if they don't, you lost a head-to-head matchup with Detroit. Going to be hard for you to get in. Redskins have beat you already. You're going to have to beat them. Giants have beat you already. You're going to have to beat them the second time around and then hope that you win tiebreakers. So right now, the Eagles, because of their record in the NFC East, those tiebreakers, they're 0-3 right now in the NFC East. The only team that's not 2-1 in the division. All of those NFC losses, they're piling up for this Eagles football team. I don't think they're going to be able to get into playoffs when it's all said and done. But we'll see. In any event, let's see if there are any more comments. No more comments. I'll check my mentions on Twitter quickly just to make sure I didn't leave anybody out that may have had a comment. And I didn't. So that's going to do it for this breakdown. I thank you guys for joining me. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I'm going to see you next time. Got many more games to break down on this beautiful Monday afternoon. I'll see you a little bit later on. Have a good one.